Our newest flagship model, this is GPT-4o.
Gemini is delivering our most intelligent AI experience.
The launch of Amazon Nova.
We are introducing more than 50 plus new products.
We're going to try something that, as far as we know, no tech company has done before.
Google has been at the forefront of
Gemini
many of
was
those
better than any other model
GPT-4 is incredibly advanced.
More than any other
So
large-scale
01
foundation.
is the smartest model.
Gemini is our largest and most
We're going
capable.
to announce
Gemini 2.0 enables new
To
kinds
deliver frontier intelligence.
So as a product marketing manager at Google, believe me, I feel that pressure to keep up with AI more than most. And initially, I struggled because one, there's just so much noise out there. And two,
I never thought I'd get laid off. I had a really good job. I had a steady paycheck. I was in my soft girl era, essentially. And then all of a sudden, the layoff happened. And then what happened was one of
she
the
speaks with
most
such
challenging
a low
moments
voice.
of my life. I was putting in
Very low
hundreds
voice.
of applications. I was getting ghosted.
But what she
getting
says is very
rejected left and
meaningful.
right. And on top of
But let's
being
go here
ghosted
real
and
quick.
rejected,
Our newest flagship model, this is GPT-4o.
Gemini is delivering our most intelligent AI experience.
The launch of Amazon Nova.
We are introducing more than 50 plus new products.
We're going to try something that, as far as we know, no tech company has done before.
Google has been at the forefront of
Gemini
many of
was
those
better
things.
than any other model.
GPT-4 is incredibly
More
advanced.
than any other
So
large-scale
01 is
foundation.
the smartest model.
Gemini is our largest and most
We're going
capable.
to announce
Gemini 2.0 enables new
To
kinds
deliver frontier intelligence.
so as a product marketing manager at Google, believe me, I feel that pressure.
And that's another story. So we talked about this proud market manager at Google. We also played the clip from a young lady, very soft smoking, I apologize. Very soft spoken, but she's actually talking about being laid off and the challenges with AI, maybe replacing her and her staff, and also the challenges of maybe finding other opportunities in the tech space after being laid off. But more importantly, let's listen to this.
Artificial intelligence is advancing at breakneck speed, and the CEO of an AI firm just warned businesses and politicians that they shouldn't sugarcoat the impact that this is going to have on the workforce.
So that's a really good point, okay? That is obviously Whoopi Goldberg off The View, and I've never heard her speak about AI because I don't watch The View. But I caught a clip of that. It came up in my feed because I was doing some research about the onset of jobs, people, and positions across the country that will be replaced. They will be displaced as a result of AI. And the prediction is you will start seeing this happen in about a year to 18 months to date, and that this time next year or around 18 months from now, Christmas 2027, a lot of people will not make it back to where they currently work now, okay? And that is just the reality that's agreed upon most. But before I go any further, let me play this small little clip.
A blunt new warning for American workers. Artificial intelligence is about to wipe out millions of jobs. One expert says a bloodbath is looming. So we asked, what, if anything, can workers do now to protect their careers? This morning, a major tech CEO is sounding the alarm about the technology he's spearheading. Anthropic CEO Dario Amode, the head of the company behind AI model Claude 4, has a blunt warning, telling the website Axios half of all entry-level, white-collar jobs could be wiped out by artificial intelligence within 5 years, potentially driving the unemployment rate up to 20%. He says industries most at risk include law, marketing, tech, and finance.
These new generative AI technologies pose a real risk to early career knowledge jobs.
In recent months, AI has shown stunning capabilities, from generating hyper-realistic fake videos to diagnosing rare diseases through data analysis. The state Supreme Court in Arizona is even using AI-powered avatars to act as reporters and summarize court rulings.
My AI colleague Daniel and I will be bringing you regular updates.
AI's rapid rise could bring real benefits, but also real disruption. The people most likely to be hit first, young, college-educated workers in their first jobs, before they've built experience or seniority.
Who don't yet have the work experience to be a sort of a manager of a team of AI agents.
Some major companies already downsizing. Walmart cutting 1,500 corporate jobs, part of a technology-led restructuring. Microsoft laying off 6,000, saying it's aligning for the AI era. So how can you protect your career? Experts say double down on what AI struggles with, making human connections and doing things in person.
If you can do your job locked in a closet with a computer, those are the things that are more worrying for AI. Things that have to be in person and really with people tend to be safer.
And learn to work with AI, not against it.
It's really important that you've mastered your craft, your area of expertise, augmented by this technology.
Anthropic's CEO is pushing lawmakers to get up to speed on AI and urgently look at ways to regulate this technology.
Okay,
A blunt
so
new
that's,
warning for
that's
American
understandable right there. And I'll go back to another clip in a second. But what's up, guys? It's your boy Talk Williams, host and creator of Hip Hop 50th. And I want to say on this Sunday night, June the 1st, Monday morning, June the 2nd, because it's around 1 a.m. Chicago time, what is the business? You see inside the title of this live, it says, you won't lose your job to AI. You will lose your job to someone who knows AI. And I think they're really talking about now. They're talking about in the current, okay? They're talking about like today, tomorrow, next week. Because that statement is going to hold true for a minute, but not so much because it's coming. It's here, but I mean, it's coming in a way that's going to be tangible, empirical, and you're going to feel it. We're all going to feel it depending on what we're doing, where we're doing it at. My position is this. There's an asteroid coming, but it's not coming to strike the Earth, and it's not coming from outer space. It's not coming from a distant solar system. It's already here, and we've created it, and it's AI. It's artificial intelligence. You can be in denial of it. You can be in frustration of it. You can be like they making it up, and I like everybody with the conspiracy theories. I like all of those comments because some of them might be true. Multiple things can be true at once. But if you work somewhere or you have clients, as the young lady just said in the piece I played before, she said that here's a litmus test for you. If you're not sure if AI is coming for your position and your CEO or the board of directors or your direct report or the C-level people at the company that you work with, they're not really being transparent. They're not encouraging the staff development to learn the tools. They're not identifying use cases and expressing that to the staff, the employees that are currently there. Here's a litmus test. If you can do your job in the comfort of your home, on computers, on systems, and connect to your databases and use these apps to do different things, to put it out there, to publish them. If you can do your job at a Starbucks or Panera Bread, at a resort while you travel, if you were so proudful and gleeful and just couldn't wait to tell somebody, oh, I feel bad posting this, but I'm sitting on the beach in the Bahamas and I'm on my laptop and I'm really struggling to put 4 hours worth of work in. AI has you on the mark. You're in the scope. We're in the scope of AI. Why is that? Because if there's no differentiation, is that a made-up word, differentiation? But if they cannot differentiate the value you bring, the process that you put forth, the task that you are assigned to, you doing it in the Bahamas on the beach, or you doing it in the office, AI is going to replace us. Because we're not seeing clients, we're not seeing constituents, we're not seeing customers. We're not doing anything that requires the human handshake, close enough to see what people are wearing, close enough to smell the deodorant or walk by and get a hint of perfume every now and then. If your job does not involve that interaction, you might want to slow down on bragging about Oh, I feel bad. I'm in Hawaii working on the beach. You might want to pump them goddamn brakes for a second. Okay? That's the thing. As Richard Murray had, see how I slow down? See how I slow down when I don't know how to say something? It's like getting lost when I'm driving. But I'll post what he says in the I'll pin the message what he says. Richard says, whatever requires intelligence. Now we know, including myself, and this is just a dry AI techno joke, I might not be replaced. It depends on how much intelligence it requires because I don't have that much. But anyway, the reason why I put in the title of this live, you won't lose your job to AI, you will lose your job to someone who knows AI. That's partially true. I didn't say it. This guy said that. That was a quote from the gentleman above me. You guys are familiar with Nvidia, gaming. You know, the video cards with the memory on them, the video cards that the world bought up so that they could what? So that they could generate using those special powered machines to do what? Those ASIC machines to generate Bitcoin and all types of cryptocurrency. So the gaming and the cryptocurrency machines and crypto farms is the Nvidia card, Nvidia card, Nvidia card. In fact, the laptop that I have right here, which is a Dell 58 or 5780, what I love about this laptop, it has two video cards. It has a soft card, and then it has the CUDA. It has some type of NVIDIA card or something. And the cool part about that is whenever I'm rendering video, if you ever notice when you're using your computer or your laptop or whatever, and you go to render like some video, you do some video edits, and then you say, okay, it's ready. I made all the changes. Let me render it out. And you say, damn, why does Adobe Premiere take so long? Why does After Effects take so long? Why does it take hours for this? That's because many times it's a consideration on the video card on your machine. Now, you might be thinking real quick, I know this is off subject, I'm going to jump back to it, but you might be thinking real quick, well, what are you talking about, Talk? Every computer there is has a video card. That's true, but some of those video cards are not hardware video cards. They're soft video cards. And a lot of those video cards, when they're not dedicated, they share the memory of your system. That's why you could have a 32 gig memory in your system, and it'll tell you that the video card is sharing 8 gigs of it, or 8 whatever. I'm making all that up, but if you have something like a dedicated hardware type video card, it has its own stuff, and so it can render. But forget me for a minute, all right? Here's the point. I'm on a video thing, because that guy up there above me, that's Jensen Huang, if I'm saying that right, Huang. He's the CEO, the founder of Nvidia. That's his quote. His quote is, you won't lose your job to AI, you will lose your job to someone who knows AI. And I'm telling you, that's partially true to calm the natives down. You're going to lose your job, a whole lot of us. We're just going to lose it. When I say us, I mean where you working, your clients, your homeboy, what you doing, what you've been doing. Those opportunities that you used to get is for what? They're leaving. Now, here's the cool part. We're in a space of awareness, if that's what we want to be. We have some time to navigate and call ourselves mitigating the circumstances by doing what? Preparing for what's to come. How can we be proactive? And you say, well, it's going to hit you anyway. There's no way to get out the way. I understand that. It's going to hit me. But can I mitigate it? Can I soften the blow? Can I delay it? Can I step to the side? Can I say, miss me right now? Catch me on the way back around. Is there a way to do that? To do what? To extend my employment. To do what? So I can get a few more clients so I can pay my rent. To do what? So I can network with other people and we can work on other projects. To do what? To level up my skill. To become aware of these AI tools so that the people that they do decide to keep through this transition in the next year to 5 years of bloodbath of white collar workers losing their jobs and coders and programmers being dismissed and let go from all of these tech companies and all of the rest of the stuff. it gives you and me an opportunity to learn the language, to be able to talk the tech, to be able to communicate it at a conceptual and at a basic, a principle level. That's why I like what Richard says. He says, a work tool for some, a boss for others. Whatever requires intelligence. And then I'm trying to be serious, and I ran across Ben Day's comment that made me unserious for a minute. But AI made me kick my neighbors out. All right. Listen. Oh, Dean, somebody, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'll say this comment, Dino Boy or Dino Boy, Denoy Boy, or, I don't know how to pronounce it. AI won't take over policing. No, AI won't take over a lot. I agree with him 100%. Not only will it not take over policing, AI will not take over a lot. Now, there's a term that I stressed on one of my other lives, and this term is called augment. Augment. Richard, if you're still there, augment, right? AUGMENT. Let me put it in the chat, the word I'm saying, because I know sometimes the way I talk, people be like, yo, he be making up words. No, I don't. You just don't know them. And you won't look them up because you think you've learned everything you need to learn. That's on you, though. But I put the spelling in there. So you're going, it's a term out now. Augment, augmentation, this, that, and that. The reason why this term is out there now is because when we talk about AI and talk about the different tools, and they say, well, it's not gonna replace you. You're not gonna be displaced. It's to augment what you do. So when something is augmented, that means it's improved upon. It's not displacing or replacing. It improves the current process. It improves the procedure. It helps to streamline what you're streamlining anyway. It makes better what my assignment is, what my primary tasks are, what my duties, or why I'm hired as a technical person, no matter what it is, whether it's at a lower level, like a call center representation, first level support, or whatever like that, which typically will take a call, check out some information, collect enough of the contact stuff, verify the account, and then get it over to somebody that can actually do some work with it involved in that person's account or profile, or somebody at the higher level on the back end of technology, the coders, the programmers, the network engineers, and the people like that. So all along that landscape, that whole skyline of where tech begins and ends, front end, back end, middle, all of that, the AI tools initially, here now, and coming, they are to augment. They are to improve. That's why if you think about AI, I'm gonna bring something up real quick. I think, let me go to this screen and put this in here. And I tell you, back to the point I was making about Richard, the point I was making about him was, hold on, let me see, LLM. I'm just going to put in LLM and RAG. I'll do LLM and RAG, and I'll do IBM, because here it is. What is RAG? Okay. What is... All right, so let me go here first.
Large language models.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so what I'm saying is this. What I was getting at, I know I'm scattered brain, is this. If you learn some of the basic principles, the core concepts, and maybe to understand, you don't have to master this, but if you understand some of the core competencies that might be required for a person to actually do the AI itself, because that's where you're at with it, that'll probably take you a long way, okay? But if you understand and you can communicate what's taking place, what's involved, without you being a coder, without you being a programmer, no, just at that level, and then you have some excitement or idea, or you see the value of the AI tool, of the augmentation, assisting you in doing your job, that's part of mitigation or a delay. Now, I'm trying to read some of these comments, and here's one that caught my eyes. It ain't catch my eyes. The point of it is the truth. Let me replace this and pin this message. And this is from Shane Graham. And actually, hold up. I had something. There it is right there. Okay, here I go. Here I go. I know I don't have to show me, man. I know that. I'm just telling y'all, I'm just doing that because, you know, I got pride and ego too. I'm proud of my little live running and all that. And, you know, why I'm taking up screen space. Because I need to feed my ego too. So that's why I'm on here. But I do like this comment by Shane Graham, because it's not really this one. It's the second one that caught my attention. But just let me blow this out real quick. Let me see if I can. I don't even know if y'all can see that. I'm trying to just zero in on that. But anyway, one of the comments is, Shane Graham says, AI and quantum computer will advance robotics. All of our jobs will be replaced. Absolutely, I agree with him. And his very next comment puts what I was saying in context. It puts some better perspective on what I was kicking about that augment thing. Shane says, augment is a nice way of saying you won't be needed very shortly. Absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Or she, whoever Shane is, right? They're absolutely right. In fact, if you go back, if not that everybody's paying attention, but if you go back in 2022, late 2022, 2023, last year definitely, you know what was being kicked around a lot? Become a prompt engineer. Oh, learn prompting. Become a prompt engineer. If you want to master ChatGPT, if you want to master some of these other large language models, if you want to master some of these responsive models, learn to become a prompt engineer. They're not even kicking that no more. Are there still classes? Yes. Are there still value in learning how to prompt? Yes. But is the hype and the push like plateaued, pretty much dying out? Absolutely. For a prompting engineer. They might remove the term engineer from prompting before it's over with. Because why? To Shane's point, people learning how to become prompting engineers, that was just a very quick phase in being able to query in context, being able to effectively ask the question to the LLM, to the chatbot. That's exactly what that was. And you say, well, why we don't have to do that now? Because now time has went by. The deep learning, the machine learning, the neural networks using our contextual prompts or fancy querying have improved it upon themselves. Now the very thing that they was telling us to become a prompting engineer about can teach us on how to become the prompting engineer. I might didn't put that right, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? The point of it is this. AI is coming. People will still have jobs. People will still do things. All I'm saying is, because we're here and we hear about it, we hear it, we smell it, we're going to see it, we're going to feel it. There are some things that people can do. Some people might just leave the industry that they're in. They might look for another career. But I'm saying to you, you might not have to hit that button right now. You may be able to soften the blow and mitigate your situation that'll keep you kind of in there and keep it moving. That's what I'm saying to you. Here's how it goes. Let me shut up for a minute. But this was about the lady on the screen, but don't worry about her. Let me move this out and go back to what I was saying and go back to this example right here.
All right, here's a question. Could the rise of artificial intelligence lead to job losses for everyday Americans trying to make ends meet? Our next guest, who is the CEO of one of the most powerful AI companies in the world, says we are heading for a catastrophic employment crisis that no one is talking about. Well, we are going to talk about it with Dario Amode, who is the CEO of Anthropic. He joins me now. Dario, thank you so much for joining us. You have a critical message for us this morning. So how many job losses are we talking about here, and who is at risk?
So just to back up a bit, I've been working on AI for 10 years, and probably the thing I've noticed most about it is how fast it's making progress. 2 years ago, it was at the level of a smart high school student. Now it's probably at the level of a smart college student and reaching beyond that. And on one hand, I think there's a number of very positive things that are going to happen. I used to be a biologist. I think AI has exactly the kind of skills that are needed to cure important diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's, to provide cheaper energy, many positive things. But exactly those same kind of skills, things like summarizing a document, brainstorming, putting together a financial report, makes me worry a lot that entry-level jobs in areas like finance, consulting, tech, many other areas like that, entry-level white-collar work, I worry that those things are going to be first augmented, but before long replaced by AI systems, and that we may indeed. It's hard to predict the future, but we may indeed have a serious employment crisis on our hands as the pipeline for these early stage white collar work starts to contract and dry up.
What's the timeline here?
Yes, so it's very hard to predict these things given how fast AI is making progress. But I would not be surprised if somewhere between 1 and 5 years we started to see big effects here. I've heard a number of people talk about this in private. AI CEOs talk about this in private. CEOs of other companies talk about this in private. And I really felt that the message that this is happening hasn't been getting out to ordinary people, hasn't been getting out to our legislators or Congress people either. And so I felt I needed to speak up on the record. I do think that this is something we can prevent this, but we need to act now. I don't think we can stop the AI bus. There are 6 or 7 companies just in the U.S. working in this area. I just run one of them. Even if our company stopped doing what it was doing today, all the other companies would continue. Even if all 6 companies started, then China would beat us. I think that's a big and important threat. So we can't stop the bus, but I do think we may have an opportunity to steer it. And I think we need to get Congress people, legislators, the public to think about this now. One of the first steps we're taking is just measuring the effects. Anthropic has put out something that we call our economic index. And using the economic index, we try and track the rate at which these things are happening. At some point we have to go beyond measuring this to actually taking action, to trying to build our AI systems in a way that augments rather than replaces. But that won't be a long-term solution either. We need to think about what the government is going to do. And there's a wide range of actions that the government could take. And it's not my place to decide which of those are correct. But I think the first step is people need to think about this and start taking it very seriously.
Yeah, and you're talking about AI possibly wiping out all entry-level white-collar jobs and spiking unemployment to 10 to 20%. So dive into the mitigation of this a little bit more. How could we mitigate the worst possible scenario here?
Yeah, so it's hard to know the exact numbers. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. But what I will say is I think what AI can do, there have been these technological changes in the past, but I think what's different about AI is it's broader, it's deeper, and it's moving faster than previous such technology.
Okay, so he's not going to answer the question because he doesn't, there's nothing in that. I mean, like I said, he's trying to find a fancy way of saying what I say. How can you soften the blow? How can you mitigate the circumstances? Today is Monday morning, right? Today is Monday morning. It's 1 a.m. where I am. And the reality of it is that a lot of people will be getting up, going to work tomorrow or in about 7 hours today, because it's technically Monday. That's just what it is, right? But I'll say this. If that was my situation and I was working in the call center or I was working with a team and I'm just lowering the level, because the majority of people where most of us work, they're not programmers, they're not coders. The average person working in IT is not a coder. They're not at some upper end, back end of the tech infrastructure in their environment. They might be help desk. They might be with the IT department. They might be with the technology program, what have you. They might be doing break fix. They might be doing whatever. And then as other staff in the environment, they may not be in the technology department, but whatever role that they play in whatever domain or space that their company services, information, or products are, they work with systems like something as simple as a Microsoft Word, Excel, or you somewhere and you're using Adobe products. You do some type of customer service where in your environment, you guys work with a Salesforce platform, customer representative or management, CRM, right? Salesforce is number one. So when you're looking at all of that, whether you're in the tech area or not, but whatever tech tools that you currently use, what I would say is to become more closer with the augmentation, the improvement of, and you want to give yourself a little more time. It ain't but so much you can do, but one of the things you can do is you can become aware. You can become cognizant and potentially excited and interested in learning what they're going to identify now as augmentation or augmented tool or resources, which later on might very well replace you, and it will in many cases, okay? Example. This is an example I use on my other live. I'm just going to tell the same example or similar to it here. You ask somebody, hey, you familiar with Microsoft Word? And they say, yeah, I've been using it for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years. You ask somebody else, hey, you use Excel? And they say, yeah. Well, when you go for your next job interview and they ask you that, you could pride yourself off of knowing it for 10 years, using it for 15 years, all you want. But if I've only used Excel 3 years and I'm on an interview, and I've only used Microsoft Word 2 years, and I'm on an interview, and I express these sentiments. Yeah, you know what? I'm not an expert at Excel or Microsoft Word. I've been using both of them off and on for the last 2 to 3 years, but I really make use of that Copilot. And the interviewer should know, but probably won't, because it's the first level interview. And they say, well, what's that? Well, Copilot is the AI. It's the artificial intelligence. It's the thing. It's like the power user. You know, it's that guy that used to work at a company and you would get challenged with something or stuck on how to do a function or something, or I don't know, to produce a graph in Excel, and they say, ask so-and-so. But he's not working today. When he get back from vacation, he know how to do that kind of stuff. You probably don't need that guy. You can still go to him, but I use Copilot. Because Copilot almost lets me engage it as if it's ChatGPT, and I can just put a text in, and it gives me examples, it produces a visual for me, and it allows me to copy and paste the functions and formulas after a step-by-step instruction, and I can just tweak it and make it mine or make it fit what I need it for. And then beyond that, if I need help, I can get help. And that person interviewing you, that person doing that Zoom, they're going to sit there and say like, okay, this is the guy we want. And the reason why is because moving forward, they want people to be aware and potentially excited, and they have already embraced and identified the value of certain tools. Not the guy or the woman that's so prideful and glad to talk about they've been using Excel for 10 years, but they won't even bring up anything pointing to the innovations or what's going on currently in the space that will allow somebody that's interviewing them or potentially considering them for another project to say they are aware, they are current, they have an idea, we can train them on the rest. We can provide training for them, we can invest in them. That's all I'm saying. That's something that you can do. You can't make it go away. You can't shush it away. But if, there's some things at a very basic level you can do. If you're using Adobe products, just do some research on whatever you're doing and find out what tools or some of the tools that are being talked about, some of the AI engines or models that are being incorporated or integrated into that product that you might be using for the role that you play. This has very little to do with whether you're in the IT department or technical department. Whoever's thinking that, you're thinking wrong. The majority of people are not in IT department as a label, but we're all dealing with laptops and phones and multiple applications throughout our jobs, throughout what we do for clients in our workspace. That's just what it is. So if you sound like you're archaic and you sound like you have no energy and no interest whatsoever to even become familiar with those concepts and those ideas and potential, why would they keep you around? Nobody's going to take the time out to sell that to you. They're going to be like, okay, he's an artifact. He won't be on the list. Okay, he seems interested. He seems to identify value and potentially use it. Here's a guy can talk about it and plays around with it. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. But I like what the CEO from Axios said. I like what he said. This is
a new piece that just posted on Axios.com moments ago, taking a critical look at the future of artificial intelligence. It's a pretty incredible piece. It's entitled Behind the Curtain, a white-collar bloodbath. That could be the result of AI.
Well, yeah, and you know, Jim, people that run AI companies don't want to talk about it. They want to pretend it's not going to happen. Silicon Valley wants to pretend it's not going to happen. Wall Street doesn't really want to talk about it. But the fact is, as you report, just like the technological revolution, the IT revolution gutted blue-collar workers throughout the 90s and beyond, you're now talking about a bloodbath for white-collar workers because of AI. And from what you've seen and what you're reporting on, it is going to be a bloodbath for workers.
I mean, that is certainly the warning of Dario Amode, who is the CEO of Anthropic. And just for your viewers, Anthropic is one of the top creators of this AI, these large language models in the world. So he has better visibility than probably all but 2 or 3 people in the world into the power of this technology. He'd been telling us in private for a while that this bloodbath could be coming, but that lawmakers don't want to talk about it. The federal government doesn't want to talk about it. AI companies don't want to spook people. We finally convinced him to go on the record. And his point is, like, listen, just play with this technology, not just casually. Like, once you really dive into it, you realize it can do the work already of researchers, of analysts, of a whole host of entry-level white-collar jobs. And he put it in the starkest of terms. He said, like, based on their early analysis, over a 5-year period, it could wipe out half of white-collar entry-level jobs. Unemployment could spike to 10 to 20% in the next 5 years. And this is a guy who's building the technology, who's boasting about the power of it. And when we push him on, then if you're building it, like, how do you morally kind of think about it in your own mind? And he said, I have an obligation to build the technology. I also have an obligation to get the federal government, to get lawmakers, to get other AI companies to figure out how do we prepare the American worker and how do we protect the American worker. And so, you know, as someone who runs a company, I run Axios as a CEO, I spend an inordinate amount of time studying AI and how it's going to play out just in my space of media. And I can guarantee you in the next 5 years, it's going to radically transform the makeup of our company. Well, every single company in the world is doing this. Every CEO is sitting there saying, should I fill this role? Should I open this role? Will a machine do this better than man in the next couple of years? When you see data out about the difficulty of college grads finding new jobs, this is one of the early telltale signs that this could be coming. And so I think the column is very much worth a read. I wish lawmakers spent more time thinking about this rather than some of the small ball things that they debate day to day.
It's been fascinating to see many of the people who are developing AI technology, Jim, offering warnings about what's coming because of it. And in your interview, he effectively says, you cannot stop this train. It's coming down the tracks. This is happening. I think the way he puts it in your interview, though, is you can steer it a little bit. What does that look like? What does steering it look like?
In his mind, I think it's sounding the alarm. It's like, listen, we got to have a national debate that this isn't 10 years from now. It could be 6 months from now. It could be 12 months from now. Then there has to be a debate about, okay, how do you make sure that workers are prepared to use artificial intelligence to augment their work, not displace their work? That's what we've been doing at Axios. We give everybody access to the technology. We have a deal with OpenAI. We make sure that every single unit, no matter what your job is already playing with this to figure out how are you going to augment your work so you don't get displaced by it. Hell, I told my own staff, you're committing career suicide if you're not spending 10% of your day experimenting with the technology. And I don't think most people are. I think people are like, whoa, this is too science fiction, or, it's a really neat search engine. They're not actually looking at the capabilities. They don't have the time. They have real lives. But I think Dario's point was they might not wake up until it's way too late. And if lawmakers are way too late to it, you could have real issues. You could have unemployment, as he said, 10 to 20%, if he's right, which would then lead to obvious political unrest. We have Steve Bannon on the record in there saying he thinks the exact same thing is going to play out. He said Trump's not talking about it, but he thinks this will be maybe the biggest topic of the 2028 presidential election.
I mean, you have Steve Bannon on the right. You have other people on the left very concerned about this. And Jim, you underlined a point that I've actually told my kids, which is if you're going into an interview, if you're going into anything where you are going to be talking and you want to understand a topic, it's just foolish not to go onto a search engine app, an AI search engine app, and dig in deep to try to understand a company that you're talking to or an issue that you're talking about better. It is Elizabeth, it is the future. The future is now, and a lot of the spaces that we work in 10 years from now are going to look completely different because of AI, and white-collar workers across the country, as Jim said, are going to be deeply impacted.
Well, so Jim, tell me how exactly will this affect our business? So, will we still have copy editors, reporters, bosses? What do you say?
For journalism, I don't think that the machines are going to do the journalism per se. But if you play with it at all, you realize it's going to be a really good copy editor. It's going to be a really good marketer. It's going to be really good at doing research. It's going to be really good at doing marketing. It's going to be really good at taking any piece and maybe creating 8 different variations to send it out to all the other platforms. And that's what I would encourage people to do is play with it, assuming that the hallucinations and the errors go away. Because there are times where it is truly magical. And if that were to happen with a human level efficacy, anybody running a company, I'm telling you, as someone who runs a company, they're always going to choose automation because they're going to believe that over time it's going to make their company more profitable and it's going to create more jobs. And that might be true, and that often is true with technology, that in the long arc, it creates more jobs. What's different here is this is a technology that could hit hard in the next 6 to 18 months, and it's going to hit every single role potentially simultaneously. And something that fast with that kind of breadth could have a much bigger effect than almost any of the topics that they're debating on Capitol Hill. And when you talk to members of Congress, it's alarming how little they know about this topic and how little and how infrequently they talk to their constituents about it. You're doing a disservice to the country if you're not starting to think through what does the world look like in 18 months to 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you have 40 or 50 people in your company with AI. Most white-collar companies, you could hire 4 or 5 people that know the right prompts to ask the right prompts of AI, and it would cover so much of that work. And you are right. This is a 5-alarm fire, and Congress is sleeping. Co-founder and CEO of Axios, Jim Van Dyke, thank you so much. And
our newest flagship model. This is GPT-4o.
Gemini is delivering our most intelligent AI experience.
The launch of Amazon Nova.
We are introducing more than 50 plus new products.
We're going to try something that, as far as we know, no tech company has done before.
Google has been at the forefront of
Gemini
many of
was
those
better
things.
than any other model.
GPT-4 is incredibly advanced.
More than any other
So
large
O1 is the smartest model. in the
Gemini
world
is
now.
our largest and most
We're going to
capable.
announce two
Gemini
models today.
2.0 enables new
To
kinds
deliver frontier intelligence.
So, as a product marketing manager at Google, believe me, I feel that pressure to keep up with AI more than most. And initially, I struggled because one, there's just so much noise out there. And two, I felt held back by my non-technical background. After 2+ years of consuming newsletters, podcasts, courses, embedding AI tools into my workflow, and even running workshops to test my own knowledge, I can confidently say the problem is not that you're behind. The problem is that nobody has shown you a clear and actionable roadmap to navigate all of this. So in this video, I'll break down the 3 biggest challenges holding people back in AI and the exact strategies I use to overcome them. Let's get started. Challenge number 1, AI tools paralysis. Product launches, new feature announcements, and benchmark pissing contests make up most of the noise around AI. And all this hype makes it nearly impossible to identify which tools can actually boost our daily productivity. Because let's be real, new features and impressive benchmark scores mean nothing if they don't translate to real-world impact. Here's a perfect example. When OpenAI released their O1 model, it dominated every benchmark test against their previous version, and users reported outstanding results. So naturally, everyone should immediately switch to the newer model, right? Well, no. The older model was still 30 times faster and cost just a third of the price. No one would wait an entire minute for ChatGPT to edit a single email. I've had relationships and fashioned that. So in practice, we were better off sticking with the old tool. This confusion only gets worse when you look at the bigger picture. Every major tech company claims to have the best AI tool, and each platform offers multiple models. And that's just for text generation. We haven't even touched on text-to-image, text-to-video, and text-to-audio tools. And this is how I initially fell into the tools paralysis trap. I sort of lost the motivation to learn and use AI tools because I thought, well, if a new tool is just going to make this one obsolete, why bother? Luckily for me, I came across this action plan checklist when I was taking one of Google's AI courses. And this checklist inspired me to develop what I call the minimum viable toolkit strategy. Here's the core idea. Even if every AI tool out there is incredible, which they're not, we can't possibly become proficient in all of them. Therefore, we should ask ourselves, what's the smallest set of AI tools that will cover all my essential needs? I'm going to oversimplify a bit here, but in practice, this is the process I follow. Step 1, spot your recurring need. At work, I needed a faster way to research digital advertising trends.
The class of 2025, always feels weird to say that, is entering a job market shaken by federal cutbacks, uncertainty over tariff policy. I'm going to throw AI in there too, Sharon. Surveys show that job prospects for recent graduates are down significantly from a year ago. So what is going on? Sharon Epperson is here with more on the stress and some opportunities facing new grads. Sharon.
There are some opportunities as well, but college graduates that are looking for work right now are definitely finding a tight labor market. The unemployment rate for recent grads reached 5.8% in March. That's up from 4.6% the same time a year ago, and that's according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Job postings at Handshake, a campus recruiting platform, are down 15% over the past year, while the number of applications has risen by 30%. President Trump's federal hiring freeze and tariff policies have created uncertainty for hiring. Artificial intelligence adoption is also a concern for potential new hires. Now, a majority, 62% of the class of 2025 are concerned about what AI will mean for their jobs. That's compared to 44% 2 years ago, according to a survey by Handshake. Experts advise new grads stay positive and consider smaller firms for more opportunities. A study by Revelio Labs finds companies with fewer than 250 employees may offer better opportunities to grow and learn than bigger brand name firms. 5 years after starting their careers, individuals who earned bachelor's degrees between 2015 and 2022 had comparable salary increases, promotion timelines, and management prospects, regardless of the size of the business. Plus, people who started at small companies were 1.5 times more likely to become company founders later in their careers. Recruiters say new grads need to network, find people in industries they are interested in, reach out and ask questions about emerging industry trends and what they should know about the challenges in the field. Having a strong network can open doors and help prepare them for interviews. For new grads who want to learn more about managing their money, sign up for my free Money 101 newsletter series, which has strategies for budgeting, saving, and tackling student loan debt, and a lot more. Kelly.
Yeah. And by the way, now that people are repaying the student loans, that's been a big hit.
Yes,
big
and so
eye-opener.
exactly. And so those who are graduating now need to realize that with a direct, subsidized, unsubsidized loan, they may get that 6-month grace period, but it's important to plan now how you're going to pay that back. Can you do the standard repayment plan? Or if you have a tough time finding a job, do you want to do an income-based repayment plan that's based on how much income you have?
Right.
So that if you don't have anything, you don't have to pay yet.
There's some options, but one of the theories going around is that AI is replacing entry-level jobs,
particularly among computer science majors.
Oh,
they're the most
sure.
worried about having that. And yes, but also some of those in the humanities as well, wondering how do I fit in with AI taking over so many things.
Right.
So
or is that
there's
a
a
good
lot of
hedge
concern.
again? I think didn't Elon Musk talk about that? Like that is the hedge.
Is going to give you. I don't know.
You can do so
can do
many different
anything.
things. I mean, I'm going to have someone in my household with a degree psychology, East Asian studies, and a minor in music. So,
is this one person or two?
This is one person.
Okay.
This is my son who's graduating on Wednesday.
Oh, congratulations!
So thank you. But I do think,
what's he thinking?
Yeah. So he had a concert last night, but he wants to be a clinical psychologist.
Wow.
But also he speaks Mandarin. You don't know.
But also he speaks Mandarin.
I like the clinical psychologist though, because that's something that the AI really I was going to say the AI can do actually these days.
But you want to talk to someone. You want to actually be able to have a conversation.
95% of American workers said they plan to look for a new job in 2024. Money's a big part of this. 45% of American workers say they need a higher income. Job switchers increase their salary more quickly on average than those who stay put. In February 2024, people who stayed at their job for more than 3 months increased their salary by 5.1% year over year, whereas those who switched jobs increased by 5.9%.
I ended up almost doubling my salary after a year and a half. And then from there, each year, I've probably increased my salary from anywhere to $15,000 to $35,000 or $40,000.
But hiring professionals stress that it's important to be strategic about job moves.
That's the other thing that I would say also would be a consideration is your earnings potential. Like what is the earnings potential now for someone who's in the tech field, and then here comes AI. So you remain in the tech field, but what percentage of increase would you see? How would you do that? Like now, it's easier to get an AI app or you get an AI, some type of system or platform to actually perform some of the duties that you would pay a programmer or a developer or somebody like that for. So now, at a real basic level, you don't want to give them $90 an hour. You don't want to give them $150 an hour. Why? Because why do that when you can pay for a service that'll do that? In fact, I had a conversation with a friend of mine's earlier today or the other day, it's in some part, and they was talking about Fiverr. Fiverr, Fiverr or something like that. But because that's the freelancers, the developers, they all sign up and they're in this portal or this pool, and they basically state their prices and they do everything like super duper cheap in there for what you may want done. But there was actually something that went out from the CEO of Fiverr, which has nothing to do with the people's skill set, but this is what happened, the communication that went out from the CEO of Fiverr to his staff.
As you know, there's lots of talk about artificial intelligence and concerns that it could make many people's jobs obsolete. Well, the CEO of Fiverr, that's a platform that connects freelancers and companies looking to hire them, sent this email to his employees last month. And as you see there, it says in part, quote, AI is coming for your jobs. Heck, it's coming for my job too. This is a wake-up call. Michal Kaufman is the CEO and joins us now to talk about the future of AI and the workplace. You know, as much traction as this email has received, you've really stirred up the comment section. It's been a popular refrain in the past few years. So give our viewers a bit of a pulse check. How alarmed should people be that AI is already here?
Well, it's absolutely here. And you know, I think the email came at the backdrop of our employees that are wondering if they have a future in their professions. And they weren't really waiting for my email. And if anything, this email was a validation of the things that they feel. And it was all about, you know, talking openly and directly to our team like grown-ups. They're not kids. They don't need to sugarcoat anything. And they really needed the validation that their fears are valid, but also a leadership perspective of what they can do about it.
And let's talk more about that. How can someone who believes their job will be made obsolete by AI, how can they differentiate themselves to make themselves useful, I guess, to be able to work with these AI systems?
Yeah. So, look, I think that the way I'm looking at this from an executive standpoint is, I think we were given with superpowers, but this should reflect in how people work. So my expectations are double or triple the output per unit of time, and the same for the quality per unit of delivery. And the reality is that since you know, what we're seeing with these tools, the reality of businesses and products is that no one has a crystal ball. So if no one has the advantage of knowing where this is going, our main advantage is speed. It's our ability to move faster. So what I told the team is I want to reduce the cost of error. You know, if something used to take us 3 months to build and then fail, because a lot of the things that we do try end up failing, today we can test things in 3 days. So by reducing the cost of error, we can do much more to find out the things that are working, and the team should support this. And my overarching message was, in an ideal situation, I want everyone to automate 100% of what they're doing. And that might, you know, that might raise the question, will that make them replaceable? And my answer is absolutely not, because it's on the contrary. When you have all of your time free because you're not doing the technical things that you can automate, you free up your time to do things that human beings have special capabilities in, which is like nonlinear thinking, judgment calls, issues that have to do with taste, making decisions, thinking about strategy. And I think that there's one thing that people get wrong about AI, and that is that it doesn't really replace us. It actually forces us to rediscover our humanity, the things that we are special in, the special attributes of every person, their special powers, and automate the things that are just wasting some of our times as, you know, acting as technicians.
Yeah, it's a great point that you make, and I tend to think that because AI will do all the boring stuff, it's even more important for people to bring their experiences, bring their life perspective to their roles.
And, you know, Mark Benioff is the CEO, co-founder of Salesforce. Salesforce being the #1 CRM, customer relationship management system platform on the freaking planet. Okay, Salesforce. I know y'all sitting there. Yeah, but you know, there was one called this and there was one. I'm not talking about one called this and one called that. I'm talking about the #1 CRM platform in the fucking world, Salesforce. So if you want an idea of what's going to happen to these first level, first tier call center agents, support agents for any company that's sitting at home, sitting remotely, or even in the office, where they don't engage in customers, client, or constituents, where they don't have to shake a person's hand or physically be somewhere, he gives a nice idea, He shares a great idea on the landscape of what's coming over the horizon.
Y'all find it's on the ground at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, and one of the persons we always talk to at Davos, that is Salesforce co-founder and CEO Mark Benioff. Mark, good to see you. This is not going to be a podcast, so I don't have tons of time with you, unfortunately.
Great.
So let's come out of the block blasting on AI.
Faster the better, actually.
Faster the better. Okay, faster the better. AI, what's the job market impact to AI?
Well, and, technology is always getting lower cost, easier to use. It's going faster than ever, but technology is always impacting jobs. And so we're going to have changes in jobs. And we talked about this already, like just at Salesforce, for example. We've put Agentforce on top of our customer support platform. We have 9,000 support agents. We get about 36,000 customer support inquiries every single week. If you asked me a month ago, I'd say about 10,000 of those had to go to humans. Now with Agentforce, only 5,000 are going to humans. So I can now rebalance those customer support agents, and I'm going to ask them to move into different jobs inside the company where I have a lot of needs in other areas. So this is an exciting moment.
Is AI beginning to eviscerate departments in companies like HR?
No, I don't see. I think that's not true. No, I think it's making us more productive. It's giving us the ability to augment, our companies in new ways. I'm wearing this vest from Gucci that I just got because I was in the Florence call center, and we put in our Agentforce platform. It augmented those employees. Their revenue went up 30%. The call center agents knew how to sell products, so they can do things that they could not do before. That's a very exciting part of what's possible now.
Do you think the workforce, the global workforce, will be massively, do they have to be massively retrained to work a lot of this technology coming at them?
I find that I am retraining myself. Like, I'm working on my business plan for fiscal year 26 that starts February 1. So I'm actually working on writing the vision statement, the values, the methods, how I'm going to accomplish all the things. I want to make every company an Agentforce company, the obstacles, the measurements. And I'm using AI for the third year in a row to do that. So I'm working with the AI. I'm talking to it. It advises me. I ask it about how what I'm doing compares to my competitors, where my gaps are, how I should fill in. And it's been amazing, but I've had to learn how to do it. And as an example, I'm bringing an executive with me this year, and somebody new who's never worked on with me before. And they were just kind of sitting there with their mouth open, not understanding how I was working with the AI to achieve my goal. So I think that for all of us, whether you're a CEO, a journalist, or a support worker, a sales worker, a marketing worker, no matter what you're doing, you're going to have to reach a doctor, radiologist, you name it. Everybody's going to have to retrain themselves to be productive with AI.
Two questions. One, you've been keeping a running tab on how many Agentforce deals, and you've shared that with me in the past. How many deals have you signed, and what is the...
We're in the thousands.
All right, what is the... thousands now?
We're in the thousands.
That's
huge.
Well,
we did 200
I just talked to you a couple
in
months ago.
Q3. I know. Well, this is going way faster than anything we've ever done, and it's been amazing, and it's very exciting. And look, I'm shocked at how fast it is going, but here at the World Economic Forum, they've used our platform for more than a decade to run all the sessions and contacts and how everybody finds their way through this. But this is now an Agentforce operation here, and it's agents and humans working together in Davos to make a more successful Davos. I just showed you the app.
Yeah,
so
wild
were
app.
You surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised by the speed, Mark, of how fast things come up. And to that end, what is the consumption? Like, people that are now have agents in their business, what's the consumption? How aggressively they are using this technology day to day?
Well, I think that, a year ago, nobody had anything like this or could even conceptualize doing anything like this. So we are at the beginning of an incredible journey for every company. And every CEO that I meet with, I just talk to them about, hey, what's your path to becoming agent first? How will you build an agent first organization? And I'm trying to model myself and show that I'm doing that.
I'm sure you saw the news, Stargate, AI infrastructure fund by the Trump administration, some Microsoft, Oracle, all those names are in there. Were you involved in that, and what signal does that send to the tech community?
Well, Larry Ellison,
mentor, right?
was a huge mentor of mine. I worked at Oracle for 13 years before I started Salesforce over 25 years ago, and I'm very proud of him. He has a vision for curing cancer. You saw it all play out. He's talking about it now quite openly, using AI to do it. He's taken a lot of the research ideas that have come out of his institutes in Los Angeles and Oxford, and now he is putting it into action, and I hope he's very successful and that all of us will benefit from his ideas.
Do you think that Stargate is a good signal that this will be a tech-friendly administration?
Well, I think it's going to be a much more business-friendly administration, which is not that difficult.
That's the point I was trying to get out of that. I just wanted to share what I looked at when it comes to CRM, the Salesforce, the agents. Now, Salesforce, that's Mark Benioff, CEO, co-founder, whatever. Salesforce has something called Agentforce. And it's crazy when you think about AI in the last 2 years, they're saying that now it's the agentic AI. So that's an agent with the IC, agentic, right? And it's like the agents. And what are these agents? These agents will replace these lower level first tier call center agents. They just are. Now, either these call center agents will just be replaced, or they will level up their skill, or the company will get behind them and invest and take them to the next level so that they can actually do some other type of work in that area of customer support, or you just have to go somewhere else. Because that idea of calling and paying somebody and you're on hold for 20 minutes and then somebody gets the phone and now you've been on hold 30 minutes for them to tell you dialed the wrong number or chose the wrong option, it needs to go out the window. So the agentic agent, the AI, the agent, will actually be able to do work and access other parts of the systems that first level person couldn't do. And they would say, that area is closed now. I'm going to transfer you. Call this number. This is not the department that handles that. That's going to kind of go away now. It just is. Because what's going to happen, and I'm just imagining with Agentforce, with Salesforce, they're going to use a series of APIs that's going to allow the user, the authorized user, or the staff of that company for that agent. Let's say that agent, they're going to give the agent, as if it's a person, the rights to areas so that they could actually do work for the person. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And they're going to be able to almost do a case management approach on that profile, on that account, to kind of give the person, keep them more informed, give them a collection of information, and then contextualize it and index additional information that first level person couldn't do. They just weren't hired to do that. They weren't given access to other parts of the system to see that. But you can do that with an agentic or AI agent, because you can, like I said, you can just set up a series of open and closes, NAND and AND gates, APIs or web services, so it can just get to the other parts of the system and it can look at it and it can just make sense of it. I mean, it's just some great things coming in that sense. Let me switch over here just for a second and I'll just shut my mouth. But this, I actually have this other channel here, and I was just talking about Salesforce, but this right here is another channel that I'm doing. I just started, and this is to learn how to like it. And I've done 3 lives where I specifically are doing some of the Salesforce training. You could actually go to something called Trail or Trailheads to get some free training under Salesforce. So if you're a customer service rep for any company and you want to get a sense of how the AI agents or artificial intelligence is going to play a role, and you want to just level up or upskill or reskill yourself, whether that company is investing in you or not, because that's what you want to do continuing on if you're replaced or when you're replaced, that'll give you a sense of how this thing works. You know, I actually go into, like this one here, I was actually doing a module called Secure Shield. And that Secure Shield module is just another layer of security that Salesforce has set up to provide the Salesforce apps within the environment on their platform for any customer or client that they have. So the Secure Shield is that extra layer of security is made up of or comprised of 4 different applications in themselves or pillars. One of them being a field audit trail, another being platform encryption at rest, another being event monitoring, and another being data detect. And so each one of those modules, collectively those 4, they make up the Salesforce Shield. But each module has units in them. And so the module for event monitoring has 3 units. And I actually did that training right online. And it was crazy cool. It was just, I mean, it's a little going on there. It's a little bit much, and I'm going to continue doing that because I'm actually building out a playlist of the trails or the trailheads for the different modules that are involved with the Salesforce CRM. And it's an interesting thing. But anyway, there's nothing. Back to the lab, as they say, right? All right, so I'm going to get ready to close it out, guys. I guess my message that I've been beating on the last couple nights or the last couple days is take care of your business.
We have a bunch of new updates we are rolling out.
Become aware. Put yourself in the position so that you can either take advantage of some upward mobility in the environment that you work in or give yourself a chance to stay in the field and just level up. Play around with the tools. Don't be dissuaded, because that's that fear and ignorance. You run into people with fear and ignorance, and they'll be like, nah, man, I stay away. It's the weirdest thing to me. Nah, man, I stay away from that. And then they pull their iPhone out and say, man, did you hear about this new thing you can do? So they'll tell you I stay away from AI and pull their phone right out their pocket and want to tell you with excitement about this new thing that they're using that's totally powered by AI. Yeah. Jeremiah Taylor says, hold up. I want to see this comment. Let me see. Okay, so Jeremiah Taylor says, I was thinking about AI years ago, but I thought of it in the sense of digital personal assistant with the intelligence and functionality like making notes. But you had it right, though, I would say, Jeremiah, because that's what Chat GPT is for us. All of these Chat GPTs, all of this Chat GPT, right? Chat GPT, the GPT standing for generative pre-trained transformation. I know it sounds like it should be 2 T's in an acronym, but no, it's 1. GPT is generative pre-trained, and then that last T is just transformation. That's what they are. They're our personal assistants. When the robot comes, if you're old enough, the robots will be our R2-D2. But that's what that is you had it right, because that's essentially what it is. Now, moving forward, you get into more specific domain, space, profession, fields of careers and different things like that, specific GPTs or large language model and different things like that. Like what I would do, because you spot on with that. So this, what I'm getting ready to say now really don't apply to you, but just in general, if I was people, I would just become more familiar with the different models, what their goal is, some of the problems or use cases in business, personal, what's involved conceptually, principally. I'm not encouraging anybody to become a programmer or a developer or some type of data scientist or AI engineer just for the sake of understanding some foundational stuff. But I think it's important that if you understand some of the foundational stuff, some of the methodology involved, some of the innovation as it's moving along its trajectory, its path, it's not as intense And let's say this, it's not as esoteric. It's more mundane. It's more on the mundane side. Why? Because if you live, you understand things already. And you're just applying the principle of make sense or deductive reasoning, or here's a big one for you, inference. It's all about inference. It's all about inference, which is a way of inferring. All right, anyway, I'm out. It's your boy, Talk Williams, host and creator of Hip Hop 50th. I should have said this an hour or some ago, but I never said it. If you enjoy content like this and you'd like to see more, click the like, click subscribe. If not, don't click anything. Just leave me alone. That's all.